Hi, welcome to Resilience Brilliance. I'm Jena Taylor, and I am your host. I'm the voice and the resilience strategist and founder of Resilience Brilliance podcast and programs. My show was born out of a story of survival. After a traumatic brain injury, I couldn't walk, talk, or even remember. I had to start from scratch. Within months, I fought my way back, first from independence, then to writing copy for IBM Watson Health, and eventually rebuilding a six-figure career. My mantra became reclaim my life, and it's the heart of everything I do. Resilience Brilliance is for anyone struggling with adversity, burnout, or the weight of life's challenges, especially women and leaders juggling the sandwich generation, caring for both aging parents and adult children. The show delivers inspiring stories, practical tools, and expert insights so you can overcome, rebuild, and reclaim your own life. Each episode is delivered with heart, humility, and humor. I'm so glad you're here with us. And today I have a very special guest. His name is Paul Sterling, and I love that he was a commercial fisherman in Alaska, and his nickname is Captain. And Paul is a relationship and intimacy coach, best-selling author, and international speaker. He spent more than 2 decades helping couples improve communication, rebuild trust, heal old hurts, bring playful curiosity back to the bedroom, and remember why they fell in love in the first place. And I now welcome Paul to the show. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you so much, Jenna. I listened to your introduction there, and I am touched by your tenacity and courage. And I am slightly familiar with traumatic brain injuries and know that it's one of those invisible challenges that most people have no idea about. And it's happened more than we know. A lot of the sports injuries end up being that way. It's like one of these invisible challenges. So I love your courageousness here.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. It was life-changing for me for sure.
Yeah. And
All right. Go ahead.
I was going to say partly how I got here is, there's this expression that says you teach what you need to learn. And I went through one divorce, four broken engagements, and I decided it's either monk or master. And monk was pretty tempting at times because if love was all you needed, relationships would be easy. And
Yeah, and I told you when we were just getting to know each other before the show that I actually used that word when I broke up with someone. Love is not enough. So expand on that, will you please?
we need tools and to resolve conflicts. And one of the things I've been working on, which I didn't even tell you about, is I was listening to this webinar about something in business, and they said, there's one thing that all companies suffer from. And I'm like, one thing? What could that be? And I started thinking about it. I said, is there one thing that after interviewing and surveying literally thousands of clients and of people on their relationship, the one thing that they need to do is solve problems? Because most relationships don't end from a lack of love. They end because you run into a problem that's bigger than your skill set. And if you don't know how to solve problems in your relationship's not going to survive. And the people that have long lasting, powerful relationships, 30, 40 years, my brother's 38 years, I think, an amazing relationship, is they know how to solve problems. And what I have is a background when I went from commercial fishing, and then while I was doing that, I went to a workshop by a guy named Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he had come to Alaska and did a workshop in Anchorage, and I actually became friends with him, and he said that I ought to check out Tony Robbins. So I flew to Seattle and took one of his workshop and ended up volunteering and coming back for more workshops and finally got hired on because I got addicted in a good way to transformation, to watching Tony take people from being in a really bad space to a great space in a short period of time. I said, I want to do that. And so I ended up studying with Tony and a bunch of other people, and it became a way of life. And I started doing workshops, and I knew my life had changed when Tony hired me to come in. This was years after I stopped working for him. He hired me to come in and teach his inner circle. And I had gone from I was introducing Tony to Tony was introducing me.
That's awesome. And never in a million years probably did you even see yourself from a fishing captain's job to being introduced by Tony Robbins and self-development.
Yeah. And the thing that the thread that goes through it, I only saw the thread in looking backwards, but it's problem solving. I Couples now from literally from around the world come to me to solve problems. And the three main areas that couples have problems is communication, trust, and getting their needs met. And when I say needs, there's 10 core needs, but intimacy, connection, feeling like they're a priority, significance, attraction. I could go on. And when it comes to intimacy, there's three types of intimacy. There's emotional intimacy. Can we talk about my feelings and needs? Can you be with me if I'm upset or hurt or angry? And can I be with you? That's emotional intimacy. Physical intimacy, most people would say that jump right to sex when I said it, but it's not it at all. Rub your feet, rub your back. Do you hold hands when I walk with my
Hands.
beloved? Do you hold hands? Do we connect? Or do we snuggle at night when we're in bed? There's all that physical intimacy, and then there's the sexual intimacy. And I actually studied with a guy named Charles Muir about tantra and sacred sexuality, and my videos on that has been seen 6.9 million times, which boggles my mind. If everybody in Denmark watched the video, that would be about how many times it's been watched.
That's really impressive.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, to think that you created something that so many people that means it resonates with them and it's meaningful to them. And you want to talk a little bit more about that little summary of that video? Why do you think it has such gravitational pull?
well, okay, so I'm gonna hold me back there in a second. I'm gonna give you a framework to go with it. There's one reason, only one reason for people to be in a relationship. And that reason, and Tony talked about this, a lot of people a lot smarter than me have talked about it, but it's to get your needs met. The problem we have in our culture is we have needs shame. Because if you want to insult somebody, you call them what? Oh, aren't they needy? Well, listen, I want to tell you, Jenna, and all the viewers, I can make you needy in about, at the most, a minute to 2 minutes. Hold your breath.
Okay.
Yeah, and then hold your breath and hold your breath. And then in about a minute or 2 minutes, you're going to be extremely needy for air.
Fair.
All the people who aren't needy are the people who are getting their needs met on a regular basis. And so it's like looking at the core needs. And if you want to bulletproof your relationship, find out what your partner's needs are and meet them on a regular basis. And one of the needs that we have is intimacy. And I did a whole course on no more boredom in the bedroom. But see, there's so much shame around sex and sexuality that people never study it. There's the 5 love languages. I think you've heard it. Now, this is my abbreviation. I'm not trying to change it at all, but talk, touch, time. So these are the ways I could remember TTT: talk, touch, time, gifts, and acts of service. Well, in the bedroom, there's erotic blueprints. So there's 5 flavors. And I didn't think I was going to do this. There's energetic, sensual, sexual, kinky, and shapeshifter. So what I tried to do is give people the basics of connecting in the bedroom, because part of what I teach is communication and intimacy. And when you're in the bedroom, and this is a tip for everybody, when you touch your partner, touch is a form of what? Communicate. You want to communicate. Like, I wonder what's on the news tonight. I wonder how long this is going to take. I wonder, like, did I get the laundry done? Or is this the most exquisite human being? And it's the most sensuous touch. So it's like understanding touch. And part of what was good about the video, and I was really surprised, it's like maybe 10 minutes long, but it gives people a way of learning how to give or receive, because a lot of time we're trying to give and receive. So it's like, have you ever gotten a massage? Think about trying to give the
Yes.
massage back to the massager. Like, no, you receive. Now in the bedroom, there's times when you're doing both, giving and receiving, but there's also times when you're just learning how to receive. And it's an important skill in the relationship. That might be when
You
one of
know,
you
it's so interesting too. I think maybe we can talk about this a little bit too. There are people who are much better at giving than receiving, and then there are people who are takers and they don't give. So,
right.
do you want to talk about maybe those two phenomenons?
It's a balance. So giving and receiving, I don't like giving and taking. And it actually, to receive, not take, to receive is a vulnerable thing. And you look at, I watch when I look at relationships and I go, where are they in the scale? Because I have a pyramid and the bottom is crisis, then combative, then complacent, and then cooperative, and then cherished. And I'm trying to work people up the scale. But when we get down to combative, that's a danger zone. We're getting close to the point of no return. And people may need to
Right.
listen to this more than once. This is not light, fluffy. You asked me to go deep quickly, and here we are. If you will no longer receive from your partner, and it can be subtle things. Any water? No. You want this? No. When I'm starting to shut down, I'm going to protect myself from you. And one of the ways I protect myself is I'm not willing to receive anything from you. Because to receive is to be vulnerable, and to give is to
Hmm.
be vulnerable too, to give from your heart. Does that make sense?
Well, I think all giving should come from the heart.
It sometimes does, and sometimes it's a trade. So
Yeah.
diving into the almost every issue in a relationship starts with a communication issue. And people get caught in what I call the communication trap. And the communication trap is when talking about an issue, whether it's money or sex, the kids, career, parents, talking about it triggers your partner. And that's why literally I wrote the book, Argue Less, Love More, because so many of my clients had the same triggers and I had the same triggers. I found them in me. There's five main things. And it's like talking about it triggers your partner or you get triggered, and not talking about it doesn't make it better. So you end up in this spiral where it keeps getting worse and worse and you don't talk about it, and that breaks trust, and then your needs aren't getting met. And when your needs aren't getting met, you communicate in a less and less productive way. So communication falls apart further and breaks trust, and needs get less and less of your needs get met. And pretty soon, you're reluctant roommates. You're down at the crisis thing. And when I say crisis, that's the PONR, the point of no return. Should I stay? Should I go? And first thing we do is teach people how to communicate so that your partner wants to listen, and listen so your partner wants to open up. And so in the talking, what I teach people to avoid, aside from the five triggers, is BSW: bad, stupid, wrong. Yeah. A lot of times when people say, we need to talk, your partner goes, I know what that means. I'm going to be told how bad, stupid, and wrong I am. We rarely go, we need to talk because you know what? I noticed that I haven't been as affectionate with you as I wanted. You're not getting your needs met. I haven't told you how much I really appreciate you. So could you sit down and just receive? Because I want to tell you how important you are in my life.
Yeah, when I hear the words "we need to talk," I'm like, "Uh-oh." Like, "Uh-oh, what's wrong?"
And it's rarely you doing the talking. So it's starting to understand that. And the five mistakes, like if they want more, they get the book at Amazon or something. Case building, storytelling, message assuming, cup stuffing, and the fatal F's. I'll just give you a little bit so people have an idea. Case building, anything you say what
Will
can
be held against
and
you.
will be held against you in the bedroom, the bathroom, in front of friends and relatives, embarrass the shit out of you. You know, there's a real aphrodisiac. That's going to increase your love life. And I went in and taught this in prison as I volunteered and had a volunteer program working with inmates for 8.5 years. teaching them how to avoid the communication problems because almost all violence is a form of communication. It's a desperate form of communication, and I'm not making it okay at all. I'm just saying that if they don't have the communication tools, they go to violence. So, number one, case building. So, if you want to get cooperation with your partner and you want them to listen, don't start with building a case about why they're bad, stupid, wrong. The next one is storytelling. So, one of my employees, his partner was coming home late around Christmas and he had a story. Now, what story could he be making up? He had a story that her partner was having an affair. And
Cheating.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Somebody else.
what she was doing is working overtime to buy him a computer for Christmas. Now, there are plenty of times when the story is that, the story matches reality. But but to create connection, what I want to do is I want to figure out what you're telling yourself when that happened and what I'm telling myself. And I was working with one of my clients and his daughter, and him being able to open up and really hear her story about what she was going through in school. And it brought her and him at one point to tears because she didn't feel heard, understood, and valued most of the time she talked about it. And at one point, she even said, I'm scared to bring my problems to you because I don't want to burden you. So it's like, oh my God, I'm so touched by the wisdom of this child. It's like, so original case building, storytelling, message assuming. Now, I didn't come up with these, I just kind of codified them. But message assuming, and there's two sides of it. Message assuming, like if you tell me something and you go, did you understand it? What I'll do is I'll feed it back. I'll say, I don't know if I understood it. Here, let me feed back what I think I understood. You get to decide whether you feel understood or not. And if I'm talking to you, I might go 20 or 30 words and go, can you tell me what you heard me say? You heard that? No wonder. Now, there's a great quote by one of my mentors who's no longer alive, but transformed my life. He wrote this book, Nonviolent Communication. It was Marshall Rosenberg. Amazing book. He inspired me to write my book. And he said the normal outcome for most communication is misunderstanding.
That's so true.
And see,
Yeah.
it's like if you expect winter, you're not surprised by winter. If you expect misunderstanding, you're not surprised by it. So I would go, can you tell me what you heard me say? You heard that? I thought I said I love you, and you heard you suck. No wonder you're like,
Pissed off.
yeah. So number four is cup stuffing. So we got right there. We started with case building, storytelling, message assuming, cup stuffing. And cup stuffing is, okay, so let me ask you a question. If this container is full, how much more can I get in there? What if
Find
I
out.
yell at it? What if I withhold love and affection and sex? What do I need to do if I want to get something into the container?
Pour some out.
Yeah. So if I'm trying to be heard, which is to put something from my container into your container, what do I need to do? I need to make sure there's room in your container before I start. So, like if you just came home from work, got a flat tire, speeding ticket, and you just walk in the door and you were shopping and you got bags of grocery, and I said, Jenna, we need to talk about your spending habits. What are my chances of being heard?
Very slim, and there's gonna be a negative response, and the person's not gonna be able to receive anything because they've already got their feathers ruffled.
Right, because your cup is full.
Full.
So cup stuffing is trying to force something into a full cup, not likely to happen. Number five is the fatal F's: fix, fight, flee. We talked a little bit earlier about the fixing. How many people here want to be fixed? You come to your partner with an upset and pain. Normally, what you want is you want empathy. You don't want to be fixed. And so you come home from work. I'm just giving a scenario, and your boss was giving you a hard time. And I know you work for yourself and all that. This is just a uh,
The
scenario.
things in my life I can vent about.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and your partner goes, well, did you try this? Did you do this? I have six good ideas on how you can improve that. So next week, you come home with the same venting, and I go, "Did you try it? Did you do it?" And if you don't, you go, "No." And then I go from trying to fix you to fleeing from you. So, or actually, fix, fight, flee. So I might fight with you first. Like, why don't respect me? You don't listen to me. Why do you come to me with your problem and don't let me solve it? Which tends to be, I call it masculitis. It's a masculine trait. Men and women both have it. So it's not just
Yeah.
men, but it tends to be the masculine trait. And then the third one is you walk in the door and I just look at you and I know you had that problem today and boom, I'm out the back door. I'm fleeing either physically or emotionally. And then you've got no one to talk to and no one to tell it to. That makes sense? So those are the five core areas.
That totally makes sense. And I think it's so funny. And like I told you earlier when before we were on air, that if I want to vent, I'm just gonna say in advance, I'm like, I don't need a solution. I just need to vent. Because sometimes just getting it off our chest, literally off our chest, it's a healing moment because we're not hanging on to that negative energy and it's no longer in control, taking control of us. So I like to say, I just need you to listen. I'm only venting. That helps me.
And then there's another part. I'll add to that how you can do super venting.
Okay.
If people draw a triangle, when people are expressing themselves, they want three things. And like I've taught in Croatia, I've taught in Hawaii, I've taught around the world and had clients, but they want to be heard, understood, and valued. Heard, understood, and valued. Now, heard is a lot of times we think hearing is a passive sport. It's not. So when you vent, part of what I could do is feedback what I think I heard you said. So when he did that, you felt really upset and angry because you didn't feel that your time was valued. Tell me more. See, when I feed
That's
it back,
great.
you feel
Yep.
understood and it takes your
Yep.
venting. A lot of times we settle for, just being able to vent it. What we really want is we want empathy. We want
Yeah,
to be
that's
heard
awesome.
and understood.
Yeah, that's a great tactic. I like that. Can we repeat it? Because I know people want to hear that again.
So the model is heard, understood, and valued. If you express pain rather than me just listening, that's only the heard part. If I feedback, so what I think I heard you say is your boss was late again for a meeting and you didn't feel like your time was valued. You didn't feel appreciated and you're pretty pissed off right now. Did I get it right? And then the
Yeah.
magic words that most people never hear. Tell me more.
Yeah. And that just totally opens up that communication and sharing and increases connection between the two people.
Yeah, and you don't feel like you're a burden, you feel valued. That's that third thing. To feel
Yep.
valued, you gotta feel heard, understood, and valued, and the toughest part on that one is the understood part, because if we don't agree, like I was engaged once to a person who had pretty much a photographic memory, and I'd say, "Yesterday at, like, 4 o'clock, we had an argument." She'd be like, "No, it's 3:37." And I'm like, "We never issue. It was all the like, always about, "No, that's not right." It was the details, but I never felt heard, understood, or valued because the understood part, there was always disagreement. So,
Right.
I'm gonna dive into a deep area, but politics is a big deal right now. So, see if you can meet with someone who's either a Republican or Democrat, whichever one you disagree with, and see if you can hear, understand, and value them, even though they are on the other side of the planet.
That would be a very advanced exercise
Yeah, you'll be
because
building muscles.
I think people could get the heard and even some of the understood. But if the argument is not compelling enough, they might not be valued. So I think that's an advanced assignment, I think. But what a great way to stretch our muscles.
Yeah,
Do that at your next dinner party.
and
No.
then getting over to the so we'd start with communication, going from uh, communication trap, where what you say triggers to communicating heart to heart. Because when you can communicate heart to heart, magic happens. See,
Mhm.
you speak any other languages?
Un poco.
I speak several different.
Un poquito.
Poquito español, despacio, por favor. All right, now I would get lost shortly. Went to Russia, so I speak a little bit of Russian. I was the US delegate for the peace dialogue. But we as human beings speak 3 different languages. You speak the language of the head, which tends to be more masculine, but for every woman that's in the business world or whatever, they use their head, and that's the language of logic, reason, right,
Mhm.
wrong, a lot of the way people communicate now, very much from the head. There's a language of the heart, which is all about feelings and needs. And in the language of the head, facts are important, screw the feelings. In the language of the heart, feelings are key. Who cares about the fact? And you can see
Right.
right there, there's a battle. And to talk from the heart is a vulnerable act. And then we have this third one, which is our dinosaur reptile brain, which is we talk from the head, the heart, or our reptile brain. And when we go to the reptile brain, we go binary. And what I mean by binary is either or, black or white, you know. And where we get there is when we're in our hurt, we're in our adrenals are kicked in. And if you're not my ally, you are my what?
An enemy.
If
Enemy.
you're not safe, you're dangerous. If you
Mhm.
disagree with me when I'm in my reptile brain, you're my enemy and you're dangerous.
A lot of friction in that.
And a lot of times, people who really love each other, once they get triggered, why it's so important to know what the triggers are. Once they get triggered, they go into their hurt and they see their partner no longer as their ally, but they see them as their enemy.
Mhm.
And you can watch your partner vanish. You can watch and all of a sudden the reptile appears. And I'm not talking like woo woo, whatever. That's just part of our brain stem that is triggered. And here's the important thing. I taught this to one of my clients who's an airline pilot for 777s. And he says he used this on a flight and there was an upset passenger. And this was from Miami to Milan. And they were going to have to do an unscheduled landing because there was such a big turmoil in the cabin. And he uses one sentence I taught him, and it probably saved the company a $500,000. Because when you do an unscheduled international flight landing with a 777, and you have to reschedule everybody, it is a major pain in the buns. So, are you ready for the sentence?
Yes.
What do you need to feel safe right now?
That's a great one.
So when you start to see your partner getting triggered, rather than trying to logicalize them away and fix them and do all those things, you're like, connect to your heart. What do you need to feel safe right now? See,
That's
and
that's
it,
beautiful. It's peaceful, it's calming. Even just listening to you say it, it's very calming.
yeah. And I had to go first place. It wasn't a manipulation. I went to a soft space inside of me. I really wanted to know. I didn't want you just to stop whining and then like, all right, what do you need? But it's like really caring. And the only people who care about your safety are your allies.
Right.
And any conversation about money or any of these other things, two dinosaurs talking to each other, two reptiles, not a good conversation. You need to
No,
get
that's
back.
going to be a complete battle.
Yeah, you need to get back into your heart. So you're starting to see, or the people on the call are starting to see, if love was enough, relationships would be easy. And they're not. I literally have had doctors as patient as clients. I'm a relationship coach as clients. I've had rocket scientists, some of the smartest people in the world, because figuring out relationships, it's a different model and understanding how to communicate, because communication is like the oil to an engine. You remove the oil, engine seizes up, or you have bad oil, engine seizes up. So
Yeah, you
understanding,
blow an engine.
yeah, understanding.
If you don't put any oil in the car, you lose your engine, you know?
And it yeah, And you see, the thing is, you can really love each other. In fact, the most painful breakups are when you love each other, but you can't get along because you can't resolve conflict because you don't have the communication tools, the communication skills and muscle to resolve conflicts, to clear up misunderstandings, to be with someone and give them empathy when they're really triggered, to calm them down, and to actually ask that simple, challenging question: honey, what do you need to feel safe right now?
And I like the way you delivered it too, because it feels really sincere.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
rather than attacking somebody about the things that you don't like about them, understand that the only reason people do anything is to get a precious need met. So, like when I work with people with addiction, they're trying to get a precious need met. And we're coming and telling them they shouldn't get that need met rather than saying, you know what, there's a more elegant way without the side effects or its many side effects.
Right. Right.
And then you can rebuild trust because a lot of, what Tony taught me years ago is most rules are unspoken until broken. So when you get
That's
in a
so true.
relationship, you have a set of rules, or another word for that would be expectation. Like, I'll give you a simple example. You start dating somebody and they pick up your phone and start scrolling through your phone. You're like, Junior, I'm sorry, but where the hell did that come from? And he says, well, you didn't tell me I couldn't.
That's an unspoken rule.
Yeah,
That's like your personal space. Like, we have those different levels of space, right? We have the intimacy level, then we've got like the close friend, right? And then we've got the we don't know you, so you need to like stay away. And then you've got these people that get in your personal space at a party and you're like backing away. That's the same thing. It's like if somebody picks up my phone and they don't need to be looking at my phone because it's like our phones are now like appendages, I think.
yeah,
So
they're
they're very personal.
very personal, and I wouldn't go through my partner's purse, even though we live together, without permission or, like, that's space. So there's there's the expectations, and a lot of times the rules are unspoken until broken, and understanding people's space. And then I have one last thing.
Yeah, we haven't talked about the paradigm shifting. I've got my Post-it right here.
All right, well, we could talk, this is a paradigm shifting about what we do when we get triggered. It's called the attachment theory, and there's a lot of work on it, and so I'm gonna make it as simple as possible. When triggered, we tend to either be a pursuer or an avoidant. And so what happens with a pursuer is if we're in an upset, my nervous system can't relax until we're okay. With an avoidant is I can't calm my nervous system down until I go to the bat cave and have some space by myself because it's not safe for me to focus externally and internally at the same time. So either I focus externally and try to fix us, or I focus internally and need to get away. And I've had couples when I explain it, and he goes, yeah, I had to get out of the house. And she was chasing me down the street, literally, like running after me, because she was terrified that if you leave, you're
It's
leaving the
over.
relationship.
Yeah.
And he just wanted his back cave to calm down. And avoidance, so understanding that, you understand each other's patterns and can help build the trust in the relationship. And you can go, honey, I just, like for me, sometimes I would go, I just need a mountain bike ride. I'm really triggered right now. Half an hour, 45 minutes, I'll come back. I'll come back. Because that's what a pursuer is afraid of, is you won't come back. I'll come back. We'll talk about it. A pursuer goes, I mean, I may need a text in half an hour. I'm still coming back. They're afraid of being deserted. And the pursuer, I mean, the avoidance afraid of being smothered.
Right. Right. And I in one of my therapy sessions way back when, there was like I wanted to talk, right? And if somebody shut down and you still want to talk, let's talk this through it, but they've hit their shutdown. And I had to learn that it was okay to not come to a resolution, to take a time out
Yeah.
of trying to get to a resolution because I was very much wanting a resolution. Let's get that resolution right now. And my partner at the time was like completely overwhelmed and needed that space. And for him, it was 24 hours. He needed 24 hours. And
And then
so it took me a while to learn that. And then I had to continue on with my world and my day and, my night or whatever. And then the next day he would be like, okay, I've thought about it. And he was very thoughtful about what his response was. But I had to learn to be patient, like just to put a bookmark in the topic that we were addressing and wait 24 hours for him to catch up to me.
yeah,
But again, it took once we understood, like once I understood that was his need, then I just knew I'm like, okay, 7 o'clock tomorrow, I'm gonna have a conversation again. And this is one thing that I like to say too, and I have this on my mirror, and anytime I'm in the, washing my hands or brushing my teeth or whatever, I look at it, and it's so important. We talked about expectations. Every day, we have to adjust our expectations. We have to keep our expectations in check. If we let our expectations get out of control, how are we gonna feel? We're gonna feel disappointed. We're gonna feel unhappy. So I think it's so important to keep those expectations, um, under control.
and I'm starting to work more with neurodivergence in relationships, because my girlfriend is ADHD and I'm somewhat autistic on the spectrum, so we have very different, like, she's bing, 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 I'm sort of like, "Calm, let's what's the dun, dun," if we don't understand it, just the same way you did with your guy, if we don't understand each other's behaviors and patterns, it will drive us crazy and we'll take it personally.
Yes, and I did that at first because I'm like, "Well, why don't you wanna resolve this? This is important, right?" So I was hurt, and I didn't think he cared, and he just needed processing time, a lot of processing time.
Yeah, because you could translate it, "Why don't you wanna resolve it the way I wanna resolve it?"
Right. Well, I always had this assumption that everybody was just like me, and then it took my brain injury for me to realize everyone's not just like me. I mean, I don't know if that was naivete or what that was, but it took me until my brain injury, and I had to come back and reconnect those neurons to realize that we really are all wired differently, and it took me literally learning how to do everything all over again to realize everybody's not like me. And so it was an adult lesson. So I had a lot of years under my belt thinking everybody was just like me. So that was where I had my resistance. I'm like, we're all built like me, but we're not.
And there's similarities, there's patterns. And I wanna one last thing, and then you ask me any question you want, but this is important for people to understand that everybody in a relationship's in 3 relationships. They're not in 1 relationship. They're in a friendship, a partnership, and a lovership. And each one has its own individual needs, like friendship, appreciation, acknowledgement, attention. Do we give them attention? Do they feel like they're a friend? Do they feel like you can talk about anything and everything? A partnership is not necessarily we're in business together, but we're in the business of life. We're have a home together, we're paying bills, we're raising kids. Do we have the similar vision, value, goals? Can we count on each other? And so those 2 tend to take up a lot of the energy. In the beginning, we also have this other one called a lovership, friendship, partnership, lovership. Are we getting the affection, the intimacy, connection, passion? Is there boredom in the bedroom? Because the thing that happens a lot of times is partnerships have to have attention. The kids have to get raised, the money has to be paid. Lovership doesn't have to be done. It's one of the first things to go, and it's one of the most wonderful things to have. So it's
Right.
understanding the needs in all 3 departments, and when you stop getting your needs met, the relationship's ending or over. And people that I've helped with that have been in long-term relationships, 30 years or more, help them get back their lovership. Friendship's solid, partnership's great, they know how to do everything, but their lovership has been neglected. So it's understanding all 3 of those and the needs in each of those departments, and to get over needs shame and to be able to actually ask for what you want and need.
Mhm.
So we've covered a
Yeah.
ton here.
Yeah, but there's one thing I still wanna cover, and it's, the past, the present, and the future. So if you I think this is so important, especially, I was a professional dater. If you can't beat them, join them. So I'm like, "Okay, I'll play your dating games with you," and then I mastered it. So I have a lot of experience in my dating life to know when people are bringing things into the present. So, can you address that? Because I think that can resonate with so many single people out there, especially.
All right. One of the things I want to talk about is the reason most relationship coaching fails, or a lot of it, and this is therapy, counseling, all the rest of it, is if you don't agree on the problem, you won't agree on the solution. If you don't agree on the problem, you won't agree on the solution. So part of what it is when I work with couples is to agree on the problem. And part of what the problem is, the past hasn't been cleared up. So anytime a little bump happens, it becomes a big issue because the past gets, he didn't do the dishes and he never does chores. He doesn't help around the house. He never did the laundry. He only thinks of himself. He's just the taker. And so all of a sudden this guy like left a cup in the sink and there's World War II. It's not about the cup in the sink. It's because the past has not been cleaned up and it's in the present. And like when you say dating, you're dating somebody, and if the first thing they do is say, my last girlfriend was na 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 na," like you're going, his past
Mhm.
hasn't been cleaned up, and it's in the what? Present.
Present.
And it's blocking any possibilities for the future because if you don't have your communication down, if you don't have a level of trust, if your needs aren't getting met, planning for the future becomes a waste of time. So clearing up the past, connecting and being present and being present. Can you be present with your partner when they're hurt, upset? I just saw an amazing documentary last night. I believe her name was Andrea Gibson. She died a little earlier this year, a poet laureate. And it's like
Mm.
she had a diagnosis of cancer and lived with it for probably, I think, 10 years of battling, like an ongoing battle. But what she learned from the disease is how to be even more present. Like I got goosebumps. It's, talk about someone who's living in their heart. And she said, when I
Mhm.
learned the disease, I realized my mortality. That's my word. So she had something like that, but I made every second precious. And her
Well, and
partner.
that's
Huh?
Go ahead. I was just gonna say that's so important. For me, like coming back and I also had a near death experience years before. I know that every day is a gift and we have to really cherish this present moment. Whatever that present moment is, we accept it and be grateful that we have this moment because life is a gift and we are meant to live our lives well. And to squander the present is very sad. I know people waste too much time being bitter or angry because someone wronged them, right? Or the relationship ended and it wasn't the outcome they wanted and it's their fault, and they just hang on to this. And that's just it's sad to see people being stuck in a situation like that and not being able to enjoy the present moment.
Right. Well, we all get hurt, and I think I heard this originally from a speaker, Carolyn Mays, who said, "We either get bitter or better."
Mhm.
And the thing
Yep.
is, if we get bitter, we get smaller and smaller, and we end up punishing our current partner for the sins of past partners. I know how women are. I know how men are. I'm not gonna, and I work with straight relationships, gay couples, lesbian couples. It's like, it's an interesting thing about dealing with people and getting their needs met and how present can you
Yes.
be? Because the more present you are, the more possibilities for the future you create.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. It's not just poetic. I mean, it's logic, it's common sense, it's truth, because if we can't handle today, we're certainly not gonna be able to handle what comes our way later.
Right. What we want to do is like have a breakthrough in the way we communicate. So we're not caught in the communication trap. So we get away from the triggers, but we learn how to communicate heart to heart. And it's a skill. I mean, it's like here I am pretending to flex my muscles, but it's a muscle you need to develop. You need to have the skill and you need to develop the muscle and then do things to build trust. And part of it, I talked about the attachment theory, but there's several different types of trust. Keeping your word and making your
Yeah.
word matter. And if you don't trust yourself, it's because you don't make your word matter to you. I'm going to quit smoking. I am right now on day 5 of a 5-day fast. And I'll tell you,
Oh my goodness.
we had our grandson over the other day and we gave him some apples and sausage and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm drooling. And I'm just like, oh my God, food, food, give me food. But do I trust myself? Like I made an agreement with me and
Yeah.
I'm keeping my agreement with me. So my trust will go up. Trust is earned, making and keeping agreements. The other part of trust is like, do I trust my partner? Does she have my back? Does when she's gone, am I going, oh, am I worried? Or am I like clear? I trust my partner. And then the third skill level, you trust their skills. Like I would not be a good dentist. You don't want to trust me to work on your teeth. I've flown airplanes, but I'm not a pilot. You don't want me to flying things. When I've got a pilot right next to me, I'm fine, but that's because they've done 90% of the work.
Right.
And then knowing and naming and negotiating your needs. These 3 areas that I work with on clients is transformational. So,
Yeah.
last thoughts, comments, questions. Oh, yeah.
I was just gonna add
Look,
an anecdote. Yes, an anecdote. I once dated somebody and I went to had a business meeting scheduled and he wanted me to cancel. And I said, why would I cancel? Well, what do they want? Well, hopefully to do business with me. I want them to pay me. Okay, this isn't going to work out. I've been in business with myself. I have a lot of meetings with men. Get over it. But he thought I was like, they were going to like take advantage of me or something. And I wasn't going to come home to him. I was going to break up with him. Well, he manifested that breakup. Not that day, but
and there's
we
ways
have to.
to dance with that, to give him empathy so that it calms his nerves, so he feels heard, understood, and valued, and then create a space. Because once you hear, understand, and value him, and I'm not saying it's like he deserves anything, but then he can hear you. So that was a perfect example of there was a situation and he made up a story.
He did make up a story.
The
Yeah.
problem is when we think our story is true, that's why I use the word story. So, honey, what story are you telling yourself? Oh, that I'm going to have an affair with him? Not interested, you know? And yeah, I get
Yeah.
that it's scary.
And then there was another one, you're gonna like this one, same guy. He didn't want me to go skiing alone. I said, "Why? Because you think I'm gonna get hurt?" "No, I think you're gonna go up on a gondola with somebody or a chairlift with somebody and fall in love and, break up with me." I'm like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna fall in love with somebody on one chairlift."
It takes two.
Yeah. Yeah. And for the record, I never did fall in love with anybody on a chairlift, and I've been skiing since I was 5. So, there you go.
Yeah, I got it. I was a professional hot dog skier for a while. I was a ski instructor when I was 15. But it was at a small area. I was a ski instructor slash babysitter, you know,
Yes,
for the young kids while the parents went. So, but still.
that's awesome.
And so it's like, how can we enter their world so that they feel heard, understood, and valued? I'm scared. Oh, honey, what would it take for you to feel safe while I'm skiing? Because I'm not gonna get smaller. I'm not gonna not ski.
Right, and I'm not gonna not go to a business meeting or
Right?
a business function,
Yeah.
right? I did my best to soothe and, explain to him that it was his projections.
Well, we can work on that. That might not be soothing at all because he's feeling scared.
If he's listening to this someday, I'm sorry. I'm
Well,
doing my apology now. I'm not saying his name, but if he hears this, I'm sorry
yeah,
if I didn't handle that properly.
Well, it's what I try to use is I'll leave it with this word, effective. Effective communication. Was it effective? Or the right, wrong? Were you able to enter their world so they felt heard, understood, and loved? And did he enter your world? So when we're using, and I have right here, I have my communication model, but we're either always building a connection or we're building a case. And when we're building a connection, we're either speaking honestly or listening empathetically. So when we're speaking honestly, when I heard you say that, I felt scared and disappointed. I felt like I was either going to have my independence or I was going to have you, and that you can't have that I can't have them both. Or I'm listening empathetically. So when you heard I was going skiing, you got sounds like you got scared and made up a story that I was going to leave you. Tell me more. Your need for connection and intimacy would be gone.
I did try and soothe, but probably not effectively.
Well,
I use humor a lot, and I was like, "Come on, I'm not gonna do that."
see, and humor can be good, and it also can be a deflection.
Yeah.
Like
So he didn't feel valued,
if,
I'm
if
guessing.
I'll give you this is a different example. A woman's going in. She might have felt a lump on her breast, and she's going in for a breast exam. And I try to kid her about it and go like, just nah, it's nothing. It's like she might shut up and not say anything, but it's not because I've soothed her. It's
Right,
because I made her feel bad about feeling bad. Versus, "Oh my god, honey, I'm guessing right now you're feeling pretty scared and maybe need some reassurance or support, like, no matter what happens, I'm still here, or I'll be by your side," or, like, whatever a woman might need to hear going in for that exam.
right. Yeah,
And it takes a certain level of muscle and skill to be present in those moments.
it does. I hear you.
And I thank you for, like, I've watched them make up a story. You've kinda settled right now, like, in this moment of listening. That you're in this space of being able to really hear that the way it was intended,
Yeah.
and not as a BSW, bad, stupid, wrong, because a lot of times we do that in our communication.
Yeah, and I guess unintentionally, I may have portrayed that maybe he was feeling that what I was saying, he was wrong, and because it comes down to trust, right? You have to trust your partner. You have to trust that your partner, when that partner leaves your presence, they're going to be loyal and true, and it was just so shocking to me that I was just so shocked because I'd been married for a long time, and I have all these male friends, and my husband never was concerned about my loyalty, and so it was a shell shock for me. I was like, "Wow."
So that's your past that you're bringing into.
And his past, he was bringing into also,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. He might have been cheated on, he might have, like, all of those different things. So it's and jealousy, another word for jealousy is a fear. I'm afraid.
Yeah,
Like, go, "Oh, honey, tell me what you're afraid of." "Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I no wonder you're afraid. You got that story that you got cheated on by 2 other women, and no wonder." And
yeah.
it's like
And I think that's so important. The point that we're talking about here is we really need to understand, like, change things from our perspective. Like, my perspective was so different from his,
mhm,
and I really didn't think that he would be afraid.
right,
And so that was on me that I didn't feel like, because it was such a foreign concept to me, like, I'm going to a business meeting. This is nuts, you know? What I didn't understand was he actually did have a fear that I was gonna cheat on him or something at a business function
and then he's probably
or skiing.
assuming that he's
Yeah.
afraid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's
And I didn't read it like that. So I think this is great that we're really hammering on this, because I think so many people are probably in my boat going, "Well, I only saw it my way. I didn't see it this way." And how could that, in my perception, in my reality, how could that person be afraid But if we look back and think about it the other way, wow, that person must really be afraid to actually tell me this. And I think that's such an eye-opening experience.
Yeah.
So it was a great exercise.
And it's something I work with a lot of clients on. I've come up with something I call no wonder listening. No wonder listening. And what that means is if I really listen to you and I get what you're feeling and needing and what story going on in your head, and there's a point where I will have this visceral, for me, visceral impact and go, oh, no wonder she's upset, angry, hurts,
Hmm.
confused. Like, if I understand what story you're telling yourself, it's like, no wonder you're this way.
Yeah.
And it's trying to get there to enter their world so deeply that you go, no wonder. Of course. Of course she's upset that or of course he's upset that I'm going to a business meeting with one other guy and like he was betrayed and stuff like that. And it doesn't mean you change. It means you enter his world, go, no wonder, honey. Oh my God, what do you need to feel safe? Like, this is I'm not gonna do this every time, but maybe if I get out of the meeting and call you and say, "I'm checking in for your heart."
Yeah. See, that concept didn't even occur to me, that thought right there, to call and say, hey, I'm okay.
Yeah, and to not do
So this has been a really good exercise for me even because we see things the way we see things, and it's sometimes very hard to see things the way other people see them.
and that's what listening is all about. That's what active listening is about, is entering their world so that they feel heard, understood, and valued, and then
Yeah.
learning how to talk so that when I'm speaking, I feel heard, understood, and valued. I might go, "Oh, can you tell me what you just heard me say?" "Oh." And if you say something very different, I don't go, "No, that's wrong. You never listen right. What's wrong with you?" I go, "Wow, thank you for telling me. No wonder you're upset. Can I try again?" All right, so I'm gonna end, I don't know whatever the time is, but I'm gonna end on
Yeah, we need to wrap it up.
the difference between a good listener, I mean, a good communicator and a great communicator. Do you wanna know the difference?
Yes.
Okay, so a analogy, a good teacher and a great teacher. A good teacher, the students walk out of the classroom and go, "Wow, that teacher was good teacher." They're really smart. They know their stuff. Only about 50% of the students make it through that class. It's such a good teacher, which to me is insane. Now, a great teacher, students walk out of the classroom and what are they talking about? They're talking about themselves. I didn't know that I could do that. I didn't know that I had that possibility. A great teacher is focused on the students. A good teacher is focused on themselves. Now, in communication, a good communicator is like, I said it right. Jenna heard it all wrong. What's wrong with her? Versus, I'm more focused on, can you tell me what you heard me say? Oh, you heard that. No wonder you're upset. Let me try again. So great communicators focused on what the other person heard. Good communicators focus on what I said. Does that make sense?
Total sense.
So if
Yep.
you took that and took it to your guy and you said, I'm meeting with a, businessman, he what he heard is I'm checking somebody out to have an affair. Now that's not what you said at all.
I'm going to have lunch,
Yeah.
maybe some dessert.
Afternoon delight. And so the only way that you get in the same playing field is to understand what he heard. Oh, you heard that. No wonder you're upset. Let me try again. Or honey, do you need some empathy? Because it sounds like that really triggered you. Now, it's
Yeah.
not the way we normally communicate.
No, but I'm gonna be thinking about this all day. I hope I get it. I hope I get I kind of hope and I kind of hope I don't, but I want a moment today to exercise this new muscle, give it a whirl. But then again, I really don't want to be in that situation where I have to use it. It's a catch 22.
Well, it's the communication trap.
Yes. All right. So we're going to wrap things up. Is there one last thing you'd like to say to everybody?
Yeah,
I mean, we covered a lot.
we covered a lot. And the thing is, be empathetic with yourself. Like a lot of times people say, the only reason to go to a coach, a therapist, a counselor is when you're broken, when things are at the point of no return. that's when we bring them in. And I think, especially talking to the masculine, like you would get a golf pro to help you if you want to improve your drive or your putt or whatever it is. You would think nothing of it. You would not judge each other. You would not judge your friends and say, hey, I'm going to a training today. Do the same thing
Right.
for your relationship. If your relationship's really important, you can tell what's important in your life by looking at your credit cards, your calendar, are you investing your time, energy, emotions? Are you reading books? Are you getting coached? Don't think of it as something's wrong. Think of it, you can have the relationship of your dreams if you have the right tools and develop the muscle. So I do a free relationship breakthrough session where we do a survey and they do that. And then we have a conversation and look and decide. I've had people go through this and say they got more out of this than a year of therapy because we got clear on it and they had a tool that they could walk away with. This exact tool I was using with a client. They had it printed out in front of them talking to his 12-year-old daughter about stuff that was happening in school. And they followed it. Observation, story, feelings, needs, requests. Get a tool and start developing your muscles. And thank you, Jennifer, what you do to continue to bring resilience in the world. And you're a walking, talking demonstration of that in your own life.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Paul's offering the consult and a download. Is that correct? Those two things?
Yeah,
Is there
and
three?
there's also a video that they can watch. There's a 15-minute video. So basically, I want people to have an idea of what's going on. And if they think that working with me would be helpful, we have a conversation about that. Not everybody's cup of tea, but I have helped couples literally from around the world that were at the edge of. My favorite quick story is one couple came to me, couldn't get along. They're smart, successful, beautiful California couple. They've been through workshops, all the rest of it. They were communicating like cats and dogs. And so the rest of the stories, we worked on them. I gave them the system, or we worked together to give them the system. They're using the tools. And then they invited me to help facilitate their wedding. Actually, in Arizona, they rented a hot springs for a weekend. And they said they got married because of the tools and support they got, that it gave them a breakthrough that they could do it. They always loved each other. I didn't make them love each other more, but the problems were creating so many problems, especially in communication. So that was, and the only thing they gave out to everybody who traveled around and spent the weekend with them, they gave out everybody there a copy of my book because it made such a difference. So there you go.
That's fantastic. That is wonderful. I love that. And I love that people came to you before they got married, because they could have broken up and then they could have, separated and gone their separate ways, but they chose to meet with you because they had an investment in themselves. And then because of the work that they did with you, they were able to stay together, get married, and build a new life and go into that relationship, that marriage with extra tools to help kind of fortify the relationship. And I loved even more that they shared your book with their guests.
Yeah.
That's meaningful. That shows how much impact you had on them. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to give a pitch for my own show. Every month, I offer free live training, and you can go to pages.resiliencebrilliance.co/webinar. That's pages.resiliencebrilliance.co/webinar. There you can ask me questions. I will give you some examples on what tools and tricks you need to have in your tool belt so that you can build that muscle, that resilience muscle. We use resilience every day. I deliver my training with heart and humor and real and raw stories. Until next time, everyone, be real, be resilient, reclaim your life. Ciao.